Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. I entered this new year with a terrible head cold, and I'm going to introduce the speaker and the title. Then I'm going to hand it back over to Stephen so that he can read her bio, because I'm not sure if I can make it. But anyway, we have Dr. Carla Jaimes Betancourt. She is coming to us from Bonn, Germany, which is 5 o'clock in the morning for her. And she's a real trooper to do this. And the title of our talk today is Biocultural Heritage and the Deep History of the Llanos de Moxos, Lessons from the Bolivian Amazon. I'm going to try to save my voice and ask Stephen if he could please read her bio and introduce her.
Certainly. Carla Jaimes Betancourt is a professor in the Department of Anthropology of the Americas at the University of Bonn in Germany. Specializing in Amazonian archaeology, she has directed research in the Llanos de Moxos in Bolivia. There she uses LiDAR technology, excavations, and interdisciplinary approaches to document monumental landscapes, low-density urbanism, and long-term processes of landscape domestication. She integrates archaeological research with local perspectives to emphasize the importance of biocultural heritage and explore how Amazonian histories contribute to current discussions about sustainability and conservation. And with that, I give you Dr. Betancourt.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Stephen, for the presentation and the invitation to be here. I'm going to share my screen. So now I think you can see it.
Yes, see the title page.
Okay. So today I would like to take you on a journey to one of the most fascinating and least known regions of the Amazon, a place where the past and present intersect in powerful ways. We will explore how humans have shaped, managed, and thrived in this dynamic landscape for thousands of years. So let me take you to the Llanos de Moxos in the Bolivian Amazon. Here is Bolivian in the heart of the South America. And the Llanos de Moxos is a vast region, over 120 square kilometers, 120,000 square kilometers. It is about the size of England, located in the southwestern Amazon basin. Actually, as you can see, the Llanos de Moxos is between the Andes, the Cerrado, and also the Amazon. So it's some midpoint. It is the largest wetland in the Amazon, and it is very important, or has a critical importance to the water balance and dynamics of the Amazon basin. It is important part of the Madeira Basin, and this basin, the Madeira Basin, drains 20% of the Amazonian territory and contributes to 50% of the nutrients to the Amazon River. So here, and this is one of the biggest river basin. This region that here is marked in yellow is a dynamic landscape of forest and savannas, and is characterized by a low altitude and extensive flooding during the certain periods of the year. For example, between April and November it is very dry, and from November to February it's raining a lot. Three more rivers, the Beni, this is the river Beni, and the Mamoré and the Guapore or Itenes, flow through this region and form the Madeira Basin, the most important tributary of the Amazon Basin. But there are other important things about this area. The Llanos de Moxos is a unique biocultural landscape. It's not just a wetland savanna. It is also a hotspot of biocultural richness of the planet. In recent decades, linguistic research has showed that the department of Beni, or the Beni region, where is the Llanos de Moxos, are a hotspot of indigenous linguistic diversity. Some languages belongs to different families, and 6 are linguistic isolators. That means that they are unique in the world. Unfortunately, many of these languages are nearly extinct or highly endangered. But today, Beni is a home of 50% of the Bolivian officially recognized indigenous peoples. Bolivia, there is a plurinational state with more than 63 indigenous people, indigenous groups, and 18 of them are living in this region in the Llanos de Moxos. Here you can see a world map where you can see also the linguistic diversity that is measured by looking at how many different languages are spoken in certain areas. And you can see also the biological diversity in the total variety of mammals and birds. The darker the color, the more biodiversity there is. So the color spectrum from the green to magenta shows how many languages there are. And you can see here, you can see the Llanos de Moxos. That is one of these very interesting points where biodiversity and linguistic variety are together. In the Llanos de Moxos, now, at the moment, we have more than 22 protected areas and 18 indigenous territories, plus 3 Ramsar sites. Ramsar sites are defined by the UNESCO as very important wetlands regions. Notable, the region has the highest density of archaeological sites in the Amazon. Our database contains more than 11,000 archaeological sites. Since the pioneering effort of William Denevan, researchers have been trying to organize the distribution of different earthworks in the regional, especially. Clark Erickson approached this task in more an integrative way, while Umberto Lombardo, for example, suggested that earthworks reflect the adaptability of cultures to different ecosystems. And Heiko and Brumers and me, we have taken a more cultural historical approach, identifying cultural patterns in earthworks, material culture, and broader cultural expressions, And finally, John Walker has proposed a framework linking different agricultural technologies to specific types of earthworks. And so you can see that these different type of earthworks were trying to be organized in the space. And that is more or less the results in general. So we found a lot of, also we're talking about hundreds of monumental mounds in the southeast of the Llanos de Moxos. And we have found a lot of ditches, embankments, and fish traps in the northeast of the Llanos de Moxos, here in this region. Those are the ditches and the embankments, and in them and to the west of the Mamoré River, we have a variety of different agricultural works. For example, elevated platforms or raised fields or agricultural mounds that we can see here, no? And here they are long elevated platforms. So I would like to begin with an example of archaeology in the heart of the Llanos de Moxos, here in this part where is the lakes of Exaltación. Before moving into the specific LiDAR results from the Lago Rogaguado area, I'd like to briefly frame them within the broader perspective of our article that was just published 2 months ago, I think. Historic landscape diversity livelihoods in the southwestern Amazon, the case of Lake Rogaguado and Lake Ginebra. And in this paper, we argue that the Llanos de Moxos were neither marginal nor homogeneous landscapes, but places that they were profoundly shaped by indigenous societies over long periods of time. We show that these historical landscapes emerged through a diversity livelihood strategies, careful management of water and soil, and close relationships between a settlement pattern, mobility, and seasonality. From this perspective, LiDAR data are not just maps of earthworks, but a way to understand how daily life, productions, and resilience were organized in highly dynamic environment. With this framework in mind, I will now turn to the LiDAR finding from the northeast of the Lake Rogaguado, starting with the Paquio complex. The LiDAR flight northeast of the Lake Rogaguado covered an area about almost 9 square kilometers, which we divide into 3 sections. So we have here Coquinal, and here we have the Isla del Tesoro, Treasure Island, and here we have Paquio. Because of the time constraints today, I will focus in the Paquio complex. In this area that you can see here, we identified 2 large groups of earthworks located on a natural rise about 2.5 meters above the surrounding plain. To the south of the complex, there is a system of rectangular ditches around 88 meters long and between 57 and 41 meters wide. These ditches are connected to radial canals that extended up to 270 meters in length and about 8.5 meters in wide, and were likely designed to channel water towards the lake and prevent waterlogging. We also identified a much larger quadrangular, this quadrangular enclosure, roughly 180 by 180 meters in size, around 3.2 hectares, with doubling embankments that are 4 to 5 meters wide at the base. Inside this area, inside this, we have inside this area we have 4 small shell pits that we detected, and one of them was selected for detailed archaeological excavation. Finally, to the north of the complex, close to the alluvial plain, we documented a partially eroded circular ditch here. Oh, you can see here also. About 94 meters in diameter and 8.5 meters wide. And taken together, these features clearly point to a high degree of landscape modification and sophisticated water management practices at Baquio. The archaeological excavations were carried out at 200 meters from the lake. The selected area is characterized by a small mounds containing fragments and whole bivalve shells scattered throughout the sites, and together with a high density of ceramic materials. The most prominent mound measured 90 centimeters in height and approximately 22 meters in diameter, and we have made this trench, and you can see the full stratigraphy. The excavations reach a depth of 120 centimeters, and there was an abundance of pottery, and we documented a lot of features. The most of them were identified as refuse deposits and natural events. And you can see here the stratigraphy and the radiocarbon dating from the excavation unit, and that help us to determine 2 occupational phases for the Baquio site, the earliest and shortest from the 600 AD, and the latest from 1000 until 1200, 1500 AD. Both occupational phases are associated with levels of whole or semi-whole bivalve shells with no changes in the ceramic technology or diet. The material is characterized by the presence of open vessels with figurative and geometric decorations, as you can see on the photos. And the archaeological analysis identified more than 1,300 fragments. From them, we have found 6 taxonomy groups, so fish with around 600 individuals, or 600 individuals fish. That was the most abundant rest, and this is because you have the lake near, followed by mammals and reptiles. Among the fish, we have this one. This is the anguilla, the siluriformes, and Simbranchidae. That was the most representative group, and Simbrancus also. Several plant species belonging to different botanical families have been identified, such as maize, of course, and also a big different kind of palms. The Mortilia flicosa. We have also Brazilian nuts identified and some legumes. So the density, scale, and variability of monumental archaeological sites documented around the tectonic lakes of Exaltación point to a long and dynamic history of landscape transformation linked to multiple and overlapping cultural occupations. Rather than isolated or marginal settlements, these regions functions as a key node of cross-cultural interactions, where earthworks, infrastructures, water management systems, and settlement networks actively supported the well-being and resilience of past populations. Now, I would like to present some of the LiDAR findings in the southeast of the Llanos de Moxos, where the monumental mounds are. LiDAR has revealed an unprecedented level of urban complexity in this region. The area associated with the Casarabe culture extends over approximately 4,500 square kilometers, and within just 20 square kilometers were surveyed using LiDAR. In this, you can see the LiDAR survey that are marked in gray. And we identified 26 settlement sites, including two major centers that are here. These three major centers are marked in red. These findings fundamentally change how we understand settlements density, spatial organizations, and the scale of social coordination in the Llanos de Moxos. And they provide a key entry point for discussing the Casarabe culture as a form of low-density urbanisms embedded with a highly engineering landscape. And I'm going to show you some examples. Here we have Kotoka and Landivar. Kotoka is more or less almost 150 hectares, and Landivar is more than 300 hectares big, both previously underestimated in size and complexity before we have these emergence of LiDAR. Landivar features a 10 hectares rectangular platform with mounts on the top that you can see here. We have 5 mounts on the top of the platform. And we have 3 different enclosures. The biggest one is 315 hectares. We have a second enclosure from 77 hectares, and the first enclosure is 32 hectares. This platform here is 100 meters long, and it is around 5 meters high. Then we have, I'm going to show you one more time Kotoka, but what we have made with the other archaeological sites, we have more than 25. We have at least 26 archaeological sites with measured by LiDAR, and we have analyzed and that allows to define a four-tiered hierarchy of settlements based on architecture, enclosures, causeways, and water infrastructure. So you can see here that we have these four-tiered hierarchies in the dimension of human-made base platform. That is, you have always a base platform. On the top of the base platform, you have a civic ceremonial architecture. Could be like pyramids or squares. The present number of total area enclosed by the utmost polygonal enclosures. So we have a lot of different enclosures, but the total one give us the size of the archaeological site. And the number of constructed straight causeways leading to the site. So how many roads or channels we have that they are going to different archaeological sites, and the scale of investment in water management infrastructure, including system of canal and water reservoirs. So here you have a map of the Kotoka Central Platform. This platform rises 4 meters, and the main pyramid here, the main pyramidal structure, rises 14 meters and is surrounded by a elongated platform, forming a monumental civic ceremonial place. No, you have here a minor U-shaped square, the large U-shape here, and you have other satellite mounts with also some architectural features that could be very similar to the U-shape squares. And you have these straight causeways, and it is very important to notice that that the Casarabe sites share an architectural features. One of them is that the state-based platforms have the same similar orientations. So we're talking that the people were planning also the architecture and the orientation of this architecture. And the orientation is very nearly as the orientation that we have found in the graves that we excavated in the Loma Salvatierra many years ago. We have also straight causeways, as you can see here. And these causeways, some ceremonial or functional, and they can also build polygonal enclosures that may have restrict access, and strategic platform structures controlling causeways entries. This is very interesting that you have this platform that they are controlling also the access to the archaeological site as checkpoint. Despite the high rainfall, seasonal droughts the people needs water storage, and people construct these reservoirs and over 900 kilometers of channels, integrating settlements into a comprehensive hydrological network. So you have a lot of different water reservoirs in the archaeological sites. Here, for example, the circular ones, and you have the channels that help to dry the water to the water reservoir, and you have also this dike. Okay, our most recent work focuses in the site of El Cerro, El Cerrito. We have now this drone-based LiDAR that reveal a large quadrangular platform built near the ancient river. So we have here like an ancient river, and here this is a quadrangular platform. This platform rises 6 meters high and covers 6 hectares. And it is a center of a ceremonial core that includes a major structure. One of these is a pyramid that rises almost 13 meters high. And in the central nucleus enclose a polygonal perimeter. So we have also different enclosures. From this inner space, at least 4 straight causeways that you can see here irradiate outwards. And the site is also connected by a broader system of channel and raised roads to 8 surrounded sites of different hierarchical levels, showing that El Cerro was not an isolated monument, but a keynote in a larger plan regional network. So you can see here other smaller mounds or smaller archaeological sites, and they are almost interconnected. And you have also this channel, that is also artificial one. And last year, we have made geophysical prospection, because this site, El Cerrito, is a key example of Casarabe monumental architecture and territorial planning, and it is a special organization and integration into a wider settlement network, highlight the social and economical complexity of these pre-Hispanic communities. But how do we approach the study of sites of this magnitude? Because we are talking about hundreds of hectares. And one of the most important advances in our research has been the successfully application of geophysical methods in the Amazon, an area traditionally seen as difficult for this kind of work because you have a lot of vegetation and you have to clean a lot. With the incredible knowledge and experience of Jörg Fassbinder and Lena Lambert's very good colleagues, we have applied magnetometer surveys, and we were able to identify domestic context, activity areas, and buried structures across the site. So you can see here, for example, one ditch, and in this part of the ditch you have a lot of different anomalies. That means that the people were living there. They were doing a lot of different activities with fire, and in this part is empty. This is very clean, and that is this part. So we can suppose that the people were living outside the ceremonial place, and near the ceremonial place that was a restricted part for living. No? What we have also on the on this level is are different features that could be houses. And the most importantly is that this geophysical data helped us to plan target excavations and increasing efficiency and guiding our strategies to understand the archaeological site. Now we have some roads that they are connected to these cemeteries, or maybe these different mounds that they are closed. And then we have also the that for me is the most interesting results are the houses. These like malocas, these round houses that are more or less 20 meters diameters, because the idea that if we can see or prove that they are houses, we can after that also have an idea how many people were living in these cities, because the Rome is very big, but we have also to understand that not in every section of the city we have the same density of settlements. No? Based on these results, we are now preparing a new research project focuses on large-scale excavations to validate the geophysical results and deepen our understanding of sites, spatial organization, and occupation dynamics. We believe this represents a milestone in the application of non-invasive technologies in tropical archaeology and open a new path for studying pre-Hispanic societies in the Amazon. This evidence compels us to rethink Amazonian not as untouched wilderness, but as a dynamic cultural landscape shaped by complex societies. The Casarabe culture achieved urbanism adapted to the tropics with sustainable strategies based in water and landscape management. Living in a flood-prone landscape remains a challenge today, and the Llanos de Moxos face a new threats: deforestation, mining, land use changes, and climate variability. This brings us to the relevance of archaeological heritage for contemporary indigenous territory struggles. Indigenous communities are increasingly recognized for their contribution to biodiversity conservation and sustainable development, also known as good living. When we look at the diversity, we see some things in common. For example, here we have a map of the complete Amazon basin, and you have the green ones are the natural parks, and the pinks are the indigenous territory. And there are some studies that they are trying to prove how indigenous territories can protect more the biodiversity, almost more than in the natural parks. When we look at cultural diversity, we see some things in common by indigenous group in the Amazon. All species are equally important to them, including humans. They have accumulated knowledge over many generations. They also have practices that encourage harmonious relationships with the natural environment. To protect and increase these contributions, it is important to recognize the rights of indigenous communities over their territories and support their ability to make decisions for themselves. This is often expressed through their management of their territories, which include making plans for their futures and putting those plans in actions. And with this in mind, we have carried out a collaborative project between 2022 and 2025 with different organizations as Wild Conservation Society Bolivian and the Tacan Indigenous Council, the Tacan Indigenous Women Council, Organization of the Tacan Indigenous Communities of Bolivian, the Chimane Moseten Regional Council. And these organizations have developed territorial management strategies known as life plans to revitalize their cultural heritage and defend their territories. Rooted in the colonial theories, our research emphasized the transformative role of indigenous knowledge systems. Since the beginning, we have committed to collaborative methodologies, flexible agendas, and mutual monitoring. The goal is a co-produced knowledge that is both scientifically rigorous and meaningful for the communities involved. From the outset of the indigenous participation has been central to the project. We have had 6 indigenous researchers over the 3 years, and we have held 4 workshops with the communities to co-develop the research proposal from the beginning on. In assembly from corregidores, they make the decisions about research timelines, themes and goals of the project, cultural protocols and taboos, and they also oversee the selections, payment, and responsibilities of indigenous researchers, ensuring there is no dependency or hierarchy in their research relationship with other institutions as my university or Wildlife Conservation Society. So we carry out identification and interpretation of local notions of heritage related to concept of ancestrality, memory sites, and historical ruptures of continuities, as well as indigenous perception of the archaeological record through participatory mappings, memory works, traditional and archaeological ethnography, and ethnobotanical and ethnoecological approaches to historical ecology. The indigenous communities decided which sites should be drone mapped, visited, and excavated. For the visits to the museums that we have made also to know how important are the objects for the indigenous people that are in the museums, and we're talking especially about ethnographical collections. The indigenous researchers visited some European museums in Germany and in Sweden, and we try to involve the entire communities in this experience through video calls or film presentations. Besides that, there were exchanges among Mosetenes, Tacana, Chimanes, and Waiwai researchers. So this project was involved with 4 indigenous groups, and that was a very interesting exchange experience between Brazil and Bolivia. In addition to scientific publications, support material were developed as, for example, a documental for indigenous schools, videos, and some other books. The idea or the goal of the project is to contribute to the construction of concepts to cultural heritage by uniting previously independent thematic fields, for example, ecology and social relation, historical territoriality, immateriality, material, cultural, and indigenous perspectives, and developing recommendations to define, protect, and create heritage at different levels, local, national, and global, in order that the ideas of heritage, the meaning of the most important things of the territory that indigenous people haven't chosen for protected could be also be understood and protected by national states or international institutions as UNESCO. So my final example comes from from this project, from the Mositen community to Asunción de Quiquibay. Currently is a home to around 36 families of Mositen people. On the higher ground nearby lies Chinachchanes. This is the archaeological site. This is the name. Chinachchanes means a dry river. During the land clearing for relocation, the community members uncovered ceramic and human remains all the time, and they invited us to excavate the site in 2023 to learn about its past and manage it respectfully. And LiDAR and collaborative planning help guide excavation strategies. So what was different in this project is that we, as archaeologists, we didn't decide what we want to excavate. We have heard what the communities wanted that we do it. In archaeology, in ethnography, in oral history, and so on. And only 5 archaeological sites have been chosen to excavate, and this is one of them. So the first thing that we made is with this drone to map the archaeological site and to discuss with them about what we are seeing, what is the archaeological site, where they found the pottery, where they found some interesting things that they want that should be excavated. And for example, there is the archaeological site. So the map, the archaeological site is in the top of this slope, and every time the river floods, we lose more of our territory. As a community, we're working to move the community once again and take shelters. The rain and floods will start soon. And that was very interesting. When they have seen the LiDAR map, the first thing that they realize is that the community here, the first community, they were in the old part of the river. And that was clear that when the flood comes and there is a lot of water, the river is going to come back to the old to the old arm of the river, and that is why they have to move. They have moved 5 times in the last 30 years. So you can see better. You can see here. Here Asunción de Quiquimay, the community, and here's the old cows of the river, and they are in the middle on. And now they move to the old part, that is where the older village was founded, and that is what they found, and that is what they wanted to be investigated in order to live with the archaeological site in a peaceful way, at the request of the community and indigenous organizations. For example, the Regional Council of Chimane Mositen, we have carried out a prior archaeological intervention. The mapping revealed that the community is located in the ancient course of the Quiquibay River, as I show, which appears to have returned to its original courses in the recent decades. That is why they have to move. This ongoing shift has caused that the community to repeatedly lose essential infrastructure such as health clinics, schools, and homes. And extensive archaeological sites has also been identified in the nearby higher elevations. And that are the 3 archaeological interventions that we have carried out, revealing values insight into the lives and ancient inhabitants of the sites. So we have found, for example, some graves. 15 individuals were identified in the burial context, and that there is something that they always found when they started to move there, that every year with the raining, a lot of these burials were washed, and they wanted to know also what kind of pattern, how old was this archaeological site, and if we can say something about the people they were living there, if they have also the same indigenous groups that we don't know, because we have it is very difficult to try to make this link between the genetics and it was also very interesting for them to know the material culture that we have found, to know some metal, silver tools for fishing, or also ornaments. And we have some tools, clay, bones, and stone bits that they were found in both excavations units and also in the funerary context. So the people were using always this necklaces. And the excavation reveals at least 2 periods of occupations, a more recent phase with painted ceramic and domestic tools, and an earlier phase with simple pottery and many lithic tools. This stratigraphy and material difference suggests a lack of cultural continuity between the 2 periods. And so we have seen that there is a very early period of occupation, and hundreds of years after, we have the second occupation. The most of them, also the burials, come from the late occupations between 1200 and 1400s. And you can see the iconography of these beautiful pots, vessels that we have found, and we have also found numerous shards and that was recovered in the site. The forms and decoration shows close affinity with the valleys and the middle horizon. We are near we are in the west side of the Llanos de Moxos, near the Andes, and that is why you can see also the influences of the valley or the Andes. This is particularly important given its location in this interface between Andes foothills and Western Amazonian basin. And the study of this region is crucial to understand the historical interaction and cultural exchange between the Andes and the Amazon. And you can see here the last occupations was dated between 800 and 1100 AD. And we have to return to the archaeological sites in order to try to understand better the earliest occupation, and also to try to understand this beautiful stratigraphy that is very, very nice, and it's talking also about this overfluted, the yearly or maybe some moments of climate change that they that they have with a lot of Flutungen. And yeah, and through these projects that I have shown, also I am leading two different projects, heritage and territoriality with indigenous groups, and the other one is about with the work group of the Llanos de Moxos, that we are working also for the conservation of the region. But these two groups, these two projects have give me the joy to mentoring a new generation of researchers in Bolivia, and this time made up mostly of women. That is also very important because on the past, most of them they were men, and in this way we are also transforming the face of the Amazonian research, giving rise to a more feminine Amazon, and not because it has changed, but because now at least we can see it through women eyes. So thank you very much to hear me, to be here, and in a time of rapid environmental change and cultural loss, learning from the past and from the indigenous knowledge is not optional. I think it is essential. The people of the Llanos de Moxos have been shaping and protecting this landscape for millennia, and it is time to listen, support, and act accordingly for the future. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a couple of small questions. There was a photo that was credited by Martin Hardy, and had a dark stone tool in one of your earlier slides. What was that thing?
It was what is the name? Tembeta.
A what?
Tembeta is the name. Is something like adornment that you put
Oh,
here, the lip.
oh, okay.
It was stone. No, it wasn't a stone, but
Yeah,
it is something that the people use as adornment here.
okay. What do you think the first peoples came up from up the river, or did they try to traverse over the Andes? Probably the river.
Mm, we don't have until now the answer because we have found a lot of earlier archaeological sites that I have not show in these presentations, but it is very important to notice that around 4,000 years we have already pottery and different technologies of pottery. Some of them they are using technology that could be more from the high hills of the Andes and other technologies of the Amazon. Llanos de Mojos is in the middle of these two regions, so I think maybe they were receiving the influence from both regions. If they were the first, we don't know. And so we have a lot of archaeological sites. So Umberto Lombardo is doing a lot of investigation with forest islands that were dated around 8,000 10,000 AP or 8,008 BC, but we don't have a lot of cultural material to think about where the people, also if we have technology that we can compare. The first archaeological cultural material that we have is pottery, because we don't have any stone. No, everything that is from a stone is from the Andes. We don't have any stone at all in the Llanos de Mojos, and all the material that they were using for the weapons and everything that was from holes, no, from madera,
Wood.
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 Yeah, from wood. Thank you. And that is something that we cannot find in the archaeological record.
Does anybody else have any question?
I do. I've got some questions.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Yeah, you just answered one very key question. They had no stone. So how do you think they used wood to build ramparts to make these pyramids and to make these platforms? They build? Do you think that they used wood to build them up? Did you find any evidence of that? And then were they digging out the causeways to get the mud to build this stuff? And were they using brush or trees as filler material? Because if you go to Holland, in Friesland, there's a lot of what they call tedeps, and the tedeps were built out of mud and cattle manure and bulrushes and all that kind of stuff. And I was just wondering if they had that kind of same kind of process in where you looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. When we excavated the mounds, we could see that they were using a lot of clay and maybe something like adobe. Of course, for the houses, they were using wood, the big, uh, big, big trees. We have the post and the log post. We found the log post, but we have not found some structures. Now, when I am thinking, maybe there is like architecture that is a combination between some wood. Tapiales is the name of Spanish, no? That you have but not so thick, no? You have wood very things, and you have the clay outside and inside. And sometimes when this is burnt, you have this burnt clay with this imprint of the wood.
It's wattle and daub. They make wattle sheets and then they push mud into it, and it fires the clay when.
Yeah, that could be.
Were these sites flooded every year?
Every year. What was the question?
Well, are these sites flooded every year?
Flooded every year, every day, every year. Every single year is flooded.
Are we talking 10-foot floods, 50-foot floods? What's the height of the flood?
It could be as every 7 years we have the El Nino, and this is higher, but we were talking about let me so it is something like it depends on the area, I think. But for example, in El Cerrito, where the archaeological site that I show you, where we are working, in the dry season, you can go by foot all the archaeological site, and in the rainy season, you have to construct a bridge because it is more than 1 meter high, the water that you have around the archaeological site. But I think that is because you have this depression from the construction in the Pampa, on the level of the seas is not, I would say, no more than 30-40 centimeters, but sometimes it could be worse, and we have a lot of problems with the animals, not that they have to go to the top of the mounds. Yeah.
I have a question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Um, Buenos dias. Um, what in the side of is it Kotoka?
Mhm.
The U-shaped. Uh,
Yeah.
what's the function of that?
And so we are thinking that everything that is on the top of the mounds, they are ceremonial buildings because they have so when we excavated one of the top of the mounts in Loma Salvatierra, we have found different variability of tools and pottery. In the top of the mount, they are always fine pottery with a lot of, and very, very incomplete vessels, not that they were broken in situ and you can find everything broken but still together. And it is not like like a layer with refused things. And when you excavate it on the bottom of the mount or outside of the mound, then you have more tools that it is for work. The pottery is not so fine. So we are relating also the all the all the architectural sites on the top of the mount with ceremonial site. But I have to say that only one archaeological site was excavated until now, the Loma Salvatierra, and when we excavated around this U-shaped square, we have found some burials and also these layers with a lot of ceramics that they were almost complete. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm for tonight's presentation. We really appreciate it. I'm going to be sending you this certificate of appreciation, and
Thank you.
I'll be in contact with you. I just want to tell everybody that next month in February 12th, we're going to have Dr. Marin Pauly from Betancourt, and she is going to be talking about carbon-14 dating and what goes into it and the ins and outs of it. So that's next month. Wish all you a happy new year. And Dr. Betancourt, go get some sleep.
Yeah, so maybe I can sleep 2 hours more.
Okay. Everybody,
Maybe it's time to wake up. Yes.
everybody
Yeah.
have a good evening and a good new year.
Bye.
Take care.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much.